Michael Todd versus GENADI KVIKVINIA was a crazy match. Right off the very first go inside of straps, we saw something completely different from the last time these guys pulled. Michael took full hand control, and pretty much immediately GENADI was forced into a flop press. That was all that he had left access to, and he did end up getting super close to pinning Michael in multiple lanes, but at the end, Michael was able to slowly climb. He was able to climb almost all the way out of the strap. It looked very similar to a Michael Todd versus Jerry Kydyrgali match, where there was a lot of flop press attempts that were super close, but eventually Michael climbed almost out of the strap entirely, and then he transitioned to a press of his own, and he was able to defeat GENADI in round one. Now in round two, right off the start, it actually looked very similar. GENADI in the flop press, and Michael with hand control. However, in this round, something really strange happened where Michael was maybe showboating. I'm not exactly sure what was going on, but he had total hand control. And then somehow in one move, GENADI ended up gaining total hand control himself. And then Michael was the one that was kind of in a flop press all of a sudden. And then it kind of switched back where Michael got hand control again. It was really strange looking. But throughout all of that, GENADI got a lot of shoulder commitments, and Michael ends up trying to climb once again, and he's trying to supinate. He's in this super awkward supinated position, trying to cause slippage to occur in the hands to climb like he did in the first round. And during this, GENADI just has a super explosive flop press, and he's able to get Michael to just barely touch the pin pad during that. So Michael's kind of caught off guard, and GENADI ends up getting that super sneaky flop press in. So now the score is 1-1. Now in round three, Michael hits GENADI with something super sneaky. I didn't necessarily expect him to do this so effectively, but in this round, Michael outside of straps presses right off the go, and he ends up defeating GENADI. He flash pins him outside of straps with a flop press. So now the score is 2-1 in favor of Michael Todd. And after this in round four, Mike ends up doing a ton of those super ugly climbing techniques like we saw him doing in round one and round two. He's super supinated, and he's trying to cause slippage to occur in the hands. And once again, during this process of him trying to supinate, he's kind of opening himself up to a flop press, and GENADI ends up just barely getting that flop press in. Now this one was a lot more controversial. It was hard to tell whether or not Michael's arm touched the pad or if GENADI's hand touched the pad, because Michael had already climbed so far up over the top that GENADI's palm was kind of underneath, so it was difficult to tell whether or not it was actually a parallel pin or not. But either way, it did end up being called. The score is now 2-2, and once again, kind of out of nowhere, Michael Todd just flash pinned GENADI outside of straps with a press. So Michael Todd ended up taking this match 3-2. Super impressive win, but also just a phenomenal match overall. It was totally back and forth, and I had no clue who was going to win until the very end of the match. So great effort from GENADI. And as for Michael Todd, I really just want to see him pull Levon at some point. At this point, I think he's earned it. Devin Larratt ended up losing to GENADI, and then he ended up pulling Levon. Whereas Michael Todd has now beaten GENADI, and I think that there's a pretty good chance that he's going to get a shot at some point in the near future.